gathered for a fiscal year 24-25 budget work session focusing on the city auditor as well as the city administrator. As I've done at the start of each session, I'll take just a moment to briefly overview the city's fiscal environment, my budget guidance, and the goal for these sessions. The city is facing unique fiscal pressures with the expiration of one-time federal support dollars, ongoing inflation, a backlog of deferred maintenance, declines in revenue streams, legal obligations, higher personnel costs, unfavorable phases of the MOONs, and costs related to implementation of the voter-approved charter reform. Because this budget will span both forms of government, the budget must first meet the most critical needs of Portlanders while balancing fiscal constraints, and it must carry out the transition to a new form of government as approved by the voters. As such, my budget guidance directed all general fund programs, with the exception of Portland Fire and Rescue, Portland Police Bureau, and the Bureau of Emergency Communications, to budget within a 5% reduction in current appropriation levels. The city auditor's office was also held harmless from the constraint. Similarly, I requested that internal service funds follow the same guidance, reducing their rates by 5% below what they would have charged with inflation. As a result, this year's budget work sessions focus on the most substantial financial issues, options, trade-offs, and decisions Council will need to make within each service area to meet the constraints at hand. Today, colleagues, is our final budget work session. We'll have our utility rate hearing on Wednesday, March 6th, with the second reading taking place the following Wednesday on March 13th. We will host 3 virtual budget listening sessions for the community to provide their input on Wednesday, April 10th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m., on Saturday, April 13th from 10 to 12 p.m., well, 10 a.m. to 12 p.m., so please do not show up in the middle of the night. I will not be there. And then Monday, April 15th from 6:30 to 8:30 p.m. Community members can sign up to speak at budget listening sessions by visiting the budget office website at www.portlandoregon.gov/CBO. Click on the fiscal year 24-25 budget events tab to find the sign up links, which will be posted 2 weeks in advance of the listening session. All work sessions and budget listening sessions are viewable on the City of Portland's YouTube page. With that, I believe the Auditor's Office is kicking us off today, so I'll turn this over to Madam Auditor Simone Reddy. Welcome, Madam Auditor, and thank you so much for joining us today to present your budget to the City Council. And Mike should already be on, I think, correct?
Yeah.
Good.
Okay. Well, good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler and Commissioners. Thank you for having me here. I'm City Auditor Simone Reddy, and I'm here to present my office's 2024-25 requested budget. I'm joined by Chief Deputy Auditor Reed Broderson and City Elections Supervisor Deborah Scroggin. And you have the pleasure of being served by our Council Clerk, Keelan McClymont. She'll be joining us momentarily to explain the needs of her team, which are also part of my office. We have 3 decision packages to share with you in this presentation, so I kindly ask that you hold your questions until we've gotten through each of them. I'm going to start by providing an overview of our service area, and then I'll give you a summary of our, I'll give you a summary of our office's revenue and expenses, as well as our strategic direction. I'm going to highlight the key financial challenges facing our office, and I'll share our plans that we have to address them. And then I'll hand it over to my staff, who are going to get into the details of those decision packages and answer your questions about them. As a reminder, our city charter requires the auditor to submit a requested budget to the mayor and city council. So I really appreciate your consideration of my office's duties and priorities in the city's budget process. Next slide. The Auditor's Office mission is to ensure open and accountable city government so that all people in Portland experience a sense of belonging. Our 2024-25 requested budget without decision packages consists of 11.9 million and 42 FTE. That's 0.2% of the city's budget. As of July 1st, 2024, our office will consist of 6 divisions. That's the Archives and Records Management Division, Audit Services, Elections, the Ombudsman, Operations Management, and as part of the city's transition, the Hearings Office. Collectively, we provide independent oversight and support the public's participation in their government. We help city offices and bureaus meet records retention requirements. We provide administrative support, and we conduct impartial reviews of city operations and alleged violations. We have 3 priorities for the next fiscal year. They are to implement charter reforms, increase community voice in our office's work, and continue to deliver high-quality services to the city and the public. Next slide. Our office operates primarily from discretionary and overhead general funds. And with the return of the Hearings Office, just over $200,000 is generated from interagency agreements that are primarily with PBOT and the Bureau of Development Services. And as Mayor Wheeler mentioned, as an elected office, the auditor's office was not held liable to the 5% cuts that were requested from general fund bureaus. Next slide. Our office's expenses have been historically consistent with 2 exceptions. Expenses declined after the 2021-22 cycle with the move of independent police review out of our office. And 2024-25 will also see an increase in expenses as detailed in this requested budget because of the return of the Hearings Office, pending your approval. Expenses in our requested budget consist of $8 million in personnel services, $2 million in external materials and services, and $3 million in internal materials and services. Those figures include the discussion packages that we'll discuss with you today, and they're designed to ensure that our office can deliver on charter changes affecting the council clerk and elections. As you'll see on the right of this slide, these packages amount to 6 new employees, 3 of which are currently funded as limited duration. Next slide. As I've indicated, our office's highest priority is to respond to the requirements of charter reform. This includes supporting an expanded council and the addition of council committee meetings, which will be held as public meetings, increasing outreach and education to elect leaders using ranked choice voting, and external reviews of our internal controls so that we can continue to deliver high-quality services to city government and the public. Next slide. Some of the key financial challenges that we face in these areas are the ability to perform a very critical check on our administrative authority so that we comply with charter changes from 2017. Our limited capacity to meet our independent legal obligations to update code and administrative rules that will conform to charter changes, our ability to administer elections, as well as oversee campaign finance and lobbying regulations, as well as the prospect of higher litigation costs stemming from an unprecedented number of candidates. Investments in these areas are critical to build trust with Portlanders so that they can participate in the city's election system and engage with the mayor-council form of government. We plan to cover our periodic review and our independent legal obligations with the Auditor's Reserve Fund. We'll use $100,000 on the organizational efficiency and compliance assessment and $150,000 on a limited term part-time general counsel to support our influx of legal work. And we plan to address anticipated litigation costs, which may impact us, the city attorney's office, and the small donor elections program in the fall or spring bump. Next slide. So as I mentioned, there are 3 decision packages in this presentation. They are designed to meet the needs of our council clerk, elections division, and the hearings office. And our ability to meet them will depend on the outcome of this budget process. At this time, I'm going to invite Keelan, Deborah, and Reed to describe the needs and the impacts of those not being met in more detail. And they can also answer questions about the decision packages at the end of the presentation. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Madam Auditor. Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler, members of council. For the record, my name is Keelan McClymont. I'm the council clerk. Thank you for this opportunity to offer this decision package for your consideration. I am asking for 2 permanent administrative specialist positions to support council operations for the mayor-council form of government. The positions will support the increased workload in the lead up to and following the transition to the expanded 12-member city council and the addition of council committee meetings. The small but mighty council clerk team is responsible for administering city council business, managing the central repository for city contracts and Portland policy documents, and maintaining city charter and code. Each of these areas of our work have been significantly impacted by the voter-approved charter change as staff across the city prepare for the change by reviewing and updating contracts, code, and administrative rules. Administering council business means that each week we host and clerk hybrid council meetings, which require 2 members to staff each meeting. We receive and review documents for the agenda to ensure adherence to code regulations, publish and notice the agenda in accordance with state public meetings law, record council actions on each agenda item and ensure documents accurately reflect amendments, prepare each item to be archived to the permanent record and made available to the public in a timely manner, prepare meeting minutes in accordance with state public records law, manage public testimony at council meetings to ensure every Portlander that wants to has the opportunity to provide input verbally or in writing on council decisions, and provide training and one-on-one support for staff across city bureaus and elected offices. And next week, we'll do it all over again. The Administrative Specialist 2 position was originally funded as a limited duration position to assist with work related to the transition to the mayor-council form of government. And for a large part of 2023, we were backfilling capacity on the council clerk team with the support of a temp agency. I am asking to make the limited duration position permanent to support the increased workload associated with supporting an expanded city council and the addition of council committee meetings. The volume and complexity of council meeting management is expected to increase, and the position will support hybrid council meetings and council committee meetings, which require both in-person and virtual options be made available for community members to participate. Each meeting added to the council schedule will require our team to clerk the meeting, review documents, prepare, publish, and notice an agenda, manage the hybrid meeting format, manage public testimony, record council decisions, prepare meeting minutes for the council approval, and archive council documents to the permanent record. The position will provide customer service support for city staff and the public as they navigate changes to the mayor-council form of government. I'm asking for the Administrative Specialist 1 position to support the council clerk team and staff across the auditor's office. The position will provide critical support to the council clerk team, especially during busy times of the city council schedule, and will be responsible for responding to inquiries from the public and staff, archiving documents related to council business, maintaining records and online file systems, and verifying information in public records documents. As able, the position will also meet demand across the auditor's office for administrative support associated with a growing staff and expanded programs tied to the charter transition, including the transfer of the hearings office from the Office of Management and Finance. Without support of the administrative specialist positions, the auditor's office will be unable to maintain the level of professional service, responsiveness, and personalized guidance expected by city elected officials, bureau staff, and the public. Additional service impacts may include delayed or diminished ability to make information available to the public and answer questions about council meetings, agenda, council documents, and code updates. Our team works to ensure equitable participation in public testimony at City Council meetings by collecting and analyzing demographic data from public testifiers to determine if there is equitable access for Portlanders who are Black, Indigenous, and people of color. Administrative support is essential to collect and analyze the data and support ways to increase outreach to communities with lower levels of engagement. So in summary, our work is growing. The increased workload will be sustained under the mayor-council form of government. And to ensure our ability to remain in compliance with public meetings law, maintain transparency and accessibility, and be accountable to Portlanders, I am requesting additional administrative capacity for our team and the auditor's office to support the 12-member city council, the addition of council committee meetings, and expanded programs in the auditor's office. Thank you.
Thank you, Keelan. Madam Auditor, do you want us to ask questions about each of the decision packages, or do you want us to wait till the end of the presentation? What is your preference?
I'd love to wait till the end.
Very good. Thank you, Keelan.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Deborah Scroggin, Elections Division Manager, and I'll be providing a brief overview of the Elections Charter Change Decision Package. The City Elections Division administers City of Portland elections processes. Working with state and local partners, we certify candidates, petitions, and measures to the ballot, and we certify official results to council. We're responsible for timely oversight of disclosure-based regulations that promote transparency and accountability in government decision-making, as well as enforcement of campaign finance regulations. Moving forward, we will also be charged with conducting voter education campaigns. The City Elections Division is part of the City Auditor's Office and supports its mission to ensure open and accountable government. We currently are a staff of 3 plus a limited duration position. Just some background as I move into this overview. Before I get started, I wanted to note that this package is focused on ongoing implementation of elections changes and anticipated long-term increase in workload. While our office is not leading on voter education in 2024, we are working closely with the transition team and Multnomah County on those efforts. We are taking the lead with some one-time realignments in our office on candidate education. This year, we've been able to conduct first-of-its-kind proactive trainings that we really hope to continue and expand upon in future years, depending on our capacity. With that focus on long-term implementation in mind, I'll first give a brief overview of our request and then follow with more details on the next slide. So as an overview, we're requesting approximately $1 million in general fund to respond to a historical demand of the Elections Division. The package consists of 4 permanent full-time equivalent positions and $490,300 in external materials and services. Voter-approved changes in the form of government and the way Portland elects officials through ranked choice voting and multi-member district-based representation requires a fundamental shift in our focus and the services we provide, including developing a brand-new education and training program for voters, candidates, and elected officials alike. So how do we propose to do this? We want to focus on the whole election cycle, which requires training, education, equitable voter services, and accountability throughout the year. Amidst an already extraordinary year, our division's focus is on the successful implementation of a ranked choice voting elected source of information to all our elections partners, whether within the city government or the public. This decision package allows us to meet the unprecedented need for training and education that increases compliance, understanding, and engagement in the electoral process, with the purpose of reducing city resources spent on time-intensive investigations, enforcement procedures, and potential litigation. While we don't control the outcomes of elections, garnering confidence in the process, whoever is the winner and however many votes, is a critical component of our training focus. But we also have a mandated increase in accountability and enforcement functions that must be year-round. Charter-required campaign finance enforcement and other disclosure-based regulations are seeing a corresponding uptick in complexity and will cover an expanded number of elected officials going forward. So that's what the FTE in this package buys us. The remainder of the funds respond to Charter's requirement to conduct voter education campaigns. We've developed a $490,000 budget to implement these ongoing voter education services. We know from existing research and other jurisdictions' experiences that voters must be educated consistently throughout election cycles to inform, remind, and build confidence amidst a major electoral reform like ours. So we're proposing to use a trusted model of community-based partnerships to reach out to historically disenfranchised populations using a data-informed approach. Consistent with what we've seen from similar situated jurisdictions, this collaborative approach keeps the Elections Division as the trusted source of information while relying on well-known community leaders and providers to engage low turnout voters and explain changes to the elections process. So what are some adverse impacts if we're not able to get this funding? As mentioned, we have charter code and state law mandates to respond to complaints, sometimes in a matter of days. Compile and disclose lobbying activity, conduct timely investigations, provide voter education campaigns that meet the needs of our electorate, and coordinate ballot qualification procedures, whether those are initiative or referendum petitions, candidate filings, or city-referred measures. These make up the core of our duties. If not funded to meet the needs of the new government, we are likely to be in violation in one of these areas. We also know we'll take a hit to responsiveness. Right now, about 98% of the time, the Elections Division is able to be responsive to the public within 2 business days of any inquiry. But we've already seen a downward trend in that time as things pick up and election season nears. Without funding, our ability to respond effectively will continue to decrease. The transition team has been doing the heavy lifting on voter education this year, and I just want to give a shout out to the fantastic work that they do. However, without additional funding, we can't take on that work and fill the gap in future years with our existing resources. We anticipate not having capacity to conduct voter or candidate education, and the void will be filled disproportionately with misinformed candidates, disenfranchised voters, and a lack of trusted source of information for the public. So on the next slide, I'll go over a little bit of details. With these positions, I'll keep it high level, and I'm happy to go into any more detail if there's questions. I'd like to highlight that for the 2 new positions, we've delayed the funding request for those to start in January 1st, 2025. The remaining 2 are currently limited duration, and we're requesting to continue those at the beginning of the fiscal year. 3 of the 4 positions are focused on our new education, training, and responsiveness programming. The Analyst 1 position will support public outreach and education and training efforts to help increase transparency and reduce instances of non-compliance. The Analyst 3 position here will manage voter education services and contracts throughout the election cycle, responsible for all RFP planning and evaluation procedures to ensure compliance and deliverables for ranked choice voting education. The Coordinator 2 position will increase the division's capacity for meaningful community engagement and partnership in service of equitable voter education. And lastly, we have 1 position that should be focused on enforcement and oversight to help us meet those mandatory deadlines. They will provide consistent, responsive, and timely enforcement procedures across our office. So to go into some of the EM&S, the external materials and services details, the bulk of those funds are for community-centered voter education. This approach is based on grants to community organizations that serve low turnout voters and hard-to-reach communities. Working closely with community-based organizations is critical, we know that. They can speak in languages, locations, and formats in a known community's voice to deliver information about fundamental voting rights. These are often our most vulnerable populations. This approach is also data-driven. The Elections Division has used existing resources to partner with BTS to compile a wealth of data on voter turnout trends specific to Portland to allow for a transparent process of community partnerships. Program evaluation and continuous improvement will be core components of the program as well. Finally, this approach is a tried and tested model. It's used in the city and other contexts and successfully by elections offices in other jurisdictions throughout the country, whether Seattle, King County, San Francisco, or Minneapolis. These EM&S funds include grants to organizations as well as mailers to all Portland households explaining changes on their ballot and ranked choice voting instructions, some funds for advertising, education, and expenses for translation and interpretation of material. So in sum, this package reflects a critical investment in Elections Division faced with a huge lift, overseeing electoral reform while promoting trust in the democratic process for all of Portland, both as candidates are elected and as elected leaders govern. With that, I'll hand it over to Reed Broderson to cover the next decision package. Thank you.
Thank you. Next slide, please. Mayor, Commissioners, thanks for your time. My name is Reed Broderson. I use he and him pronouns. I'm Chief Deputy City Auditor. I'll talk briefly about our third and final decision package relating to the move of the hearings office. A recently negotiated letter of agreement between AFSCME and BHR on our office's behalf places the 4 represented employees, our hearings officers and our hearings clerks, within our office's bargaining unit, a move necessary to uphold our office's independence. That move puts them on our wage scales effective July 1 and does ensure parity and equity not only within classifications and employees within our office, but also those comparable across the city. It will lead to a slight cost increase of around $50,000. We hope you consider this to help us finalize the move and make sure that that office can continue its essential services. And with that, actually, we'll move on to your questions and feedback.
Great. A small ask and a small presentation. That's perfect. Thank you, Reed. Thank you, Deborah. Thank you, Keelan. Colleagues, any questions? Looks like we have a few teed up here. Commissioner Gonzalez is first up.
The first question may extend across a couple of decision packages. I want to make sure I'm tracking them all, as well as the budgets in general. And it just relates to the substantial increase in number of candidates running this cycle. What is truly an ongoing expense for the city of Portland that we should budget from now until Kingdom Come, and what is unique to 2024? And so I guess I just welcome kind of your thoughts on the various expenses, and how we might thoughtfully parse those two out, the one-time components and truly ongoing. I'll let anyone answer. I mean, it's across the board in some respects.
For the Elections Division, certainly for 2024, this year's unprecedented in the number of candidates already. We know the number is over 60 that are interested right now or that have filed letters of intent with small donor elections. As far as ongoing, there's a permanent number and increase of contests, and therefore it follows that there would be a permanent number and increase of candidates. And so we are planning for an expanded number of candidates and an expanded number of officials.
And in terms of what you're requesting at this point or asking for, is there both one-time money and ongoing, or is it primarily ongoing you're asking to address that expanded council?
Entirely ongoing.
Okay. I mean, I think that might be worthy for us as we think about, your prepared budget, just what we can parse through there as best we can. It's hard. I recognize that, but there may be some opportunities to juice this year, given the unique needs. And then with respect to clerk, I think you were calling them administrators, the 2 positions.
Yeah, they're administrative specialist positions.
Administrative. Do you have any baseline assumptions on the number of committees that the new council will use in sort of thinking that through?
Yeah, I think, and I'm sure the transition team will speak to this as well. What I've been seeing is that the recommendation is 6 initially, and then it likely to grow as the years go on.
And is that 6 tied to the service areas, or is there a different?
I don't think so.
Okay.
I don't know. You should check with the transition team about that, but yeah.
I mean, I think certainly Commissioner Rubio and I reflected a bit on our trip to Milwaukee with to what extent and how important the clerk was in their form of government, and just how essential committees are to running the show. The reality is we're probably guessing somewhat now, and we're going to have to start to see how it goes. But it was of note how essential the clerk's office was in that system of just keeping the legislative side going. So I don't know if that's the right assumption or not. I frankly have no idea, but it's clearly important. I guess my only other question on voter outreach, this goes back to the election decision package, is, I know at least some offices on the second floor have wanted some comfort that who we're using for voter outreach aren't really political organizations, right? That we keep a separation of some sort. And I guess any thoughts on that, on how we can do that mindfully, is because it's essential for English as a second language that we're doing thoughtful outreach. We also don't want folks advocating while they're doing the outreach and trying to both protect against real and perceived misuse of that platform and those resources.
Yeah, so I will say, might be a better question for the transition team to answer for this year's, this cycle's engagement. But I do know there's a variety of safeguards being put in place. This money will not be going to C4s, for example. There'll also be a variety of requirements, trainings to support C3s who engage in this work to maintain those separations. But I believe the transition team might be better positioned to speak to those safeguards.
And Commissioner, just to speak to our efforts going forward and what we're planning, we have already been talking to a number of jurisdictions and their experiences and learning from them and putting in safeguards and, you know, what have they done and when have they done it? And we've learned a lot in that process. We're happy to continue that conversation. No one that I have talked to has so far said that that has become a big issue for them, primarily in part because of the efforts that they've taken proactively.
To prevent it. And if, just so I can conceptualize, when it comes to voter outreach, what will your team be handling in this cycle, and what will the transition team, what's the division of labor there as well as budget?
For 2024 election planning, our office has been taking the lead on candidate education, and the transition team is the lead on voter education. So we are partnering with them, and we, for instance, will be involved very heavily in a mailer that will go out to Portland households to explain ranked choice voting. But this is their role as one-time, you know, staffers of the Charter Commission and things like that. It made sense for them to take this on. Perhaps they can speak to more of what they are doing, but we are meeting with them regularly and in conversation with that. Long-term, that will be our role in the elections division.
Okay. Okay, I think I'm good for now. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Commissioner Maps, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This question is for Keelan, and I want to pick up a theme that actually Commissioner Gonzalez touched on. So I think we all assume that in the next form of government, the folks who serve on this council will set up a committee system, and they'll have regular committee meetings, maybe once a month, maybe once a week. So what services I'm not sure if I understand what services the auditor's office provides to those meetings. Are you going to have a human being who will sit in on each of those kind of subcommittee meetings on public safety or committee meetings on safety? Or what's the scope of your interactions with the committee system, I guess is my question.
Right, yeah, great question. So the committee meetings are considered public meetings under State of Oregon Public Meetings Law, which requires that the auditor's office publish an agenda for each of those meetings, that it comply with all the public notice requirements. And then, we are operating under the assumption that those meetings will also be clerked the same way regular council meetings are.
Thank you very much. I don't know how to manage this. You know, I would assume that we'll have at least 6 committees, colleagues, probably 7. Let's say 1 for each service area plus Portland Solutions. They meet once, even once a month, which I think is not very much. That's about 84 meetings a year. It's just a lot of labor. You know, my instincts is that probably your request is too small to manage the work that's coming through. I also know we have some financial challenges too. So if you went bigger, I don't know how we'd find the dollars, but this sounds really challenging. And if these committees decide to meet every 2 weeks or something, you're looking at, 170 meetings a year. Just kind of dwarfs what we do in the building today. So I don't know. This is going to be a work in progress over several years. We should probably articulate and think through how the workflow goes and what our work processes look like. But we certainly appreciate everything you do, and certainly you make this council so much better. With that, I'll lower my hand.
Great, thank you. Commissioner Rubio, you're next.
Thank you. Thanks for the presentation. And I just have a quick follow-up to the questions about voter education. And so I just want to make sure I'm understanding. So for this cycle, the transition team's going to handle it, and then it will be transitioned to your office? Okay. So this is a really important area of concern for me for all the reasons that you talked about, and have a strong interest in it. I just want to get a sense of what happens if we don't fund it. I'm just interested and curious about the risks and constraint, like on your office in particular, what kinds of stresses and unanticipated consequences if we don't properly fund this component.
Thanks, Commissioner. That's a big question. I think with the state of elections right now and the fact that local elections have the biggest trust in officials, it's really, really imperative that we continue that and inform voters and candidates at the same time about what we're doing here, why we're doing it, and what it means and how to vote. So if we don't do that or engage in that work, I think there could be not only a lot of mis and disinformation that circulates that we are not able to respond to, and that takes its own form. But we could also just have a lot of folks contesting the election, not sure, how to vote, a lack of voting. I could see a number of really disastrous consequences.
So quick follow. So then, if we didn't, so any gains that we lost in this cycle, would you say then be lost completely because we wouldn't have that continuity?
I think we were talking to jurisdictions like New York City who rolled out ranked choice voting, and they really said sometimes the second election is sometimes the most important to maintain trust in the new system. And so I think we really need to land this plane this cycle, but also in cycles to come.
That's helpful. Thank you.
Great. Commissioner Maps, you had another question?
Yeah, this one's a little bit in the weeds, and it's fine if no one has the answer today. Madam Auditor, do you know how much you spend, or maybe this is really an elections question, how much do you spend sending out mail, or how much are you proposing to spend sending out mail to tell voters about the election? Is that $500,000, 100,000, 5 million?
Commissioner, we have done some work getting those quotes because we want to get work done well in advance and start designing them. And we estimate the cost for that will be about $150,000.
$150,000.
Per mailer that goes out. I think right now this budget would allow for up to 2 of those citywide mailers per cycle if we encumber funds year to year. I believe that's correct, right?
We are also working with the counties to see if they will be amenable, and so far they are, on putting in an insert into the ballot package so that when you open up your ballot, you also have instructions on what's happening here and why your ballot looks different.
Thank you, and again, I kind of agree with Commissioner, with the commissioners with me today. This work that we're doing around elections is very important. 2 mailers doesn't seem like a lot, especially when so much is changing. Again, I recognize, this is not your strategic plan where you said, let's change the electoral system and when budgets are constrained. But again, I think as we move forward, it's important to recognize there's a lot of education that needs to happen, and sending out 2 mailers is I'm sure everyone feels like that's inadequate. Let's put it that way. And I hope we can figure out something to do in this space.
I appreciate those comments, Commissioner. I think, too, I know the transition team is working hard to figure out what are low to no cost options that the city is already reaching individuals in their homes through email, mail, other channels. So I think, collective leadership across bureaus and across the city would be helpful here in making sure folks get the message.
So I have a couple of questions. And first of all, Madam Auditor, I want to really thank you for taking the time to go around and meet with each of the commissioners in advance and give us the opportunity to think about it and understand the requests. And a number of challenges were raised that I want to highlight here. One is that, Deborah, we have the ranked choice voting system that the charter reform in Portland developed, and Multnomah County has its own ranked choice voting program as well. and I know there's an effort between your office and the county elections officials to coordinate some of that voter outreach. Can you tell us a little bit about the challenges you anticipate as a result of that?
Yeah, I think it can be confusing. For instance, in 2024, we'll have our own ballot document, Portland will, separate from the rest of your ballot. That in itself is different and can be a little bit complicated. So we are working with the county on all fronts to make sure those instructions are really, really clear this year, but also what's happening in 2026 when the county will be taking that on as well. So I think I don't want to speak for the county, but I know that they are laser focused on May and November right now. And we continue talking about how that goes and do evaluation there and then focus on 2026.
Good. And your assessment is that those communications are good and that there's collaboration and coordination taking place?
Absolutely. They have been a fantastic partner in this work. We're really thankful for everything that they do. I mean, they have up until this point done the bulk of voter education for the city.
Terrific. Thank you. And this may not be a question that you can necessarily answer, but what is our legal obligation as a city government with the charter reform in terms of informing the public about how the electoral system works? Is there a minimum threshold, or is there some legal framework that is driving our decision here in terms of budget, or is it just our desire to make sure that the public understands the system and has confidence in the system?
I think at first pass, when I read it, this is my own personal view, is that we have a duty to inform the public about what ranked choice voting is. In particular, noting, I think that it's a different form of voting than we have done for the last 100+ years. So in my mind, it's like any other charter violation, and it comes with it all of those legal consequences, but I don't want to speak more to those.
Yeah, the amended charter does specifically call on the city to conduct periodic voter education. I believe those are the exact words.
So there's no specific threshold that you're aware of, Reed or Deborah, but it is seen as clearly the responsibility of the city to provide that education.
That's correct, Mayor. Yep.
Okay, that's good. Reed, since you're sitting right next to Deborah, so the hearings office, in your presentation, you said bring back the hearings office. Does that mean the hearings office is not functional at the moment, or what does that mean in your mind?
I appreciate the opportunity for clarification. The hearings office is fully functional and has been for quite some time, but has been an OMF, has been placed in OMF for the last few years. It was in our office, but due to a disagreement on budget, was moved out.
Okay, and this is an important interface with the public as well, is it not?
Absolutely. And we really do see it aligned with our general mission as an office, and are really excited to have it back.
And it's a blissfully small request. I hope you didn't drop a decimal somewhere. I appreciate that very much. Keelan, as you know, I'm a huge fan of the council clerks team and your leadership of that team, and the incredible work that you put in that is not publicly recognized as often as it should be. But I did have a question as you were describing. Well, first of all, I was not aware that committee meetings by definition under Oregon statute are in fact public meetings. From a legal perspective, that's what you said, and I just want to make sure that's what you meant. They are public meetings.
Yes.
Meaning they have to be noticed, there has to be an agenda, minutes have to be properly kept, and I would assume that you would and your team would continue to do the kind of work that you do in these council sessions and other council sessions and be present physically. Is that correct?
That's my understanding, yes.
Okay. Have you given any thought to either when or where those committee meetings might be?
Yeah.
I don't mean to depress you, but there is an issue here I want to highlight.
Okay. So I think that these are questions that the transition team are also kind of grappling with. I think one option, of course, is to have the committee meetings take place in City Hall and council chambers, the renovated council chambers. But again, I don't know. I think that is still to be decided. And then as far as when those meetings will take place, I think the hope is to have a schedule for when there will be regular council meetings and when there will be committee meetings that will help to serve that notice purpose.
Do we have any sense, and maybe this is a better question for the transition team, but, some folks went to Milwaukee and had a chance to see how they're set up. And of course, there's many, many other cities in America that have councils that are large, that have committee meetings. Is there any anticipation that some of this work that we historically do during the day might shift to evenings? And if so, does that impact your ability to staff?
The hope is, I think, that they will move to meetings or to evenings so that they will be more accessible to the public for people who work during the day. And I mean, my team is already preparing for that schedule change for evening meetings versus daytime meetings.
Okay, great. Because it occurs to me that if that is your staffing imperative, you're going to have a staff that is here during the days to work on regular council sessions. And then you'll have to have other individuals who are not necessarily coming during the day, but perhaps working the evening shift, if you will.
Exactly.
Okay, and has there been any thought given, I think about just the five of us here and how we can routinely take a meeting into 4, 5, 6, 7 hours, depending upon what the issue is in front of us. And I'm trying to imagine what it would be like if 7 more people needed to also have their say. Have you given any thought to what that looks like? And is that worked into your staffing model as well?
Right. I think the length of meetings under the mayor council form of government is a real unknown at this point. I think it's hard to know. I think the number of regular council meetings may decrease over the long run as committee meetings grow, like as there are more committee meetings that get scheduled. But again, like the length of those meetings, I think is a real.
Because I'm just sort of thinking, typically you or Rebecca will staff an entire meeting. And so you could be there for 4, 5, 6 hours. And I'm just thinking, as the council expands and its purview expands as a legislative body, it could actually require more than one person per shift, potentially.
Mm-hmm. And I think that is the case in other cities as well, where they might have a clerk and then they might have an assistant who is helping them through the longer meetings.
Okay, great. Thank you. That's super helpful. I don't have any more questions. If anybody else has any questions. I'll just say this. I think you've all, this is sort of my blanket disclaimer, you've all made very compelling cases, and I appreciate the thoughtfulness of the program offers you brought forward. There's nothing here that strikes me as extraneous or add-on or extra, but I will also give my usual admonition that I do not yet have access to a printing press. And so this is going to be a very, very tough budget for me in particular as I roll out the proposed budget. And I want you to know I respect you and I appreciate you, and I think you've made compelling cases, and my team and I will do what we can to honor the requests as you've put them forward, but understanding we're in a very, very tight budget scenario this year. But I really appreciate the work you've put into this, and it shows. Thank you, Madam Auditor.
Thank you,
I'll
Mayor.
give you the last word if there's more.
Oh, no, I just want to say thank you for your consideration and for considering our priorities in this process.
Thank you. Appreciate it. Thanks, all of you. Now Keelan gets to blissfully come back to the Maybe next time we'll grill you just for fun. Maybe just. Thank you. So thanks, Madam Auditor, for you and your presentation. Now we're going to turn to the City Administrator's Office at the helm of Portland's executive branch of government. This office will be essential to the way our city government functions, not only through the transition, but beyond as well. And as we'll hear today, the City Administrator's Office includes a mix of both existing as well as proposed new programs and positions. Ultimately, this office will be the center of accountability for the way our city government functions, how we deliver services, how we address challenges, how we fix problems, and how we identify opportunities to serve Portlanders. With that, I'll turn this over to Chief Administrative Officer Michael Jordan to walk us through the budget considerations before us as we stand up the City Administrator's Office. welcome to you and your team.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Not working. Working, it
Yeah,
is
now it sounds
okay.
good.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of the council. Appreciate your attention today. And I know this is, I think, the 7th of your meetings on the budget this year, so I appreciate how many of these you've already gone through. I'm going to be your tour guide today, but we will have a cast of thousands before you. The administrator's office is a brand-new thing, first of all. And secondly, it has multiple component parts as we've architected it and that you passed last November. So today, if I could get the agenda up.
Working on it.
And Mike, while we're paused here,
Yeah.
I just want to remind my colleagues, I have a hard out at 4:30 today.
Okay.
And I presume this will probably continue till 5. And if that's the case, I'll turn the gavel over to the council president.
I think we can get in before 4:30.
But don't do it on my account, because
Oh,
I'll hear all
I
of
do
this
everything on you.
presentation
No,
again.
I'm kidding. And I don't know, do we have the,
We're getting it.
oh, you're getting it. Okay. Oh, there we
There it
go.
is.
There we
It's
go.
up.
If we get
It's
the,
up.
get the next slide, please.
Mike, before we start, can I just jump in and get a sense of how you want to handle this today? When and where and how do you want to take questions? Do you want to do it in chunks? Do you want to
I
get
think it
through
would
your
be
whole
better
show?
if we could wait to the end, unless it's something that's a clarification around something that somebody said. Please feel free to interject, but we'll have folks coming up and talking about particular topics. The run of show, if you will, I'm going to give a brief overview of the office. We'll have folks come up and talk about the core programs that are encompassed in the administrator's office and how the constraints that are being met in those proposals. We'll spend a fair amount of time on Portland Solutions. It's probably the newest and most complicated thing that we're bringing to the executive office. And then we'll talk a little bit about the decision packages for the office. And I should say, the very last, you had a fair number of questions that may be handled by transition, and we'll talk about those, and you'll have time for maybe some of those questions at the end. Next slide, please. So you passed a framework last November, and there was a lot of new aspects for city government in that framework. But nowhere in that was there more newness than in the executive office. And I say executive office deliberately. I know it's listed as city administrator's office on the slide, but this office will really encompass both the administrator, a number of officers, and the mayor's office. And I really see those as jointly managing the executive branch of city government. But also, I think besides being kind of the center of executive power at the city for the executive branch, it's also going to be the center of accountability. All employees report to the city administrator at the end of the day, and I expect the council and the mayor to hold that administrator accountable. And in turn, I would expect that administrator to hold the deputies and the directors and employees at the city accountable. And so this really represents the center of accountability in the new structure. We'll talk a little bit more in a minute about setting kind of standards of practice on multiple disciplines in the city through the officers that we're going to appoint into this office. And then I think something to keep in mind also, this office will really be the keeper of the enterprise view. One of the things that we're hoping for in this new structure is that we spend a lot more time looking horizontally across the organization rather than vertically. We're pretty good at vertical in the current structure. We struggle sometimes with horizontal, and so this office will really be the keeper of that notion. Next slide, please. So in moving toward that outcome, we've got a lot of work to do this year. We will spend time on developing job descriptions for both the city administrator and the assistant city administrator. We will be developing scope of work and descriptions for the 4 officer positions in the city administrator's office. You'll recall that we recently made the decision to not appoint those officers in this budget cycle. There were so many outstanding questions about their span of control, reporting relationships throughout the organization. So we decided that we had a lot of work to do to actually define those things. And each of those officers are starting in a different place and have different characteristics about how we would make those definitional decisions so that we can actually hire into those positions. I mentioned Portland Solutions. We're going to be spending a lot of time this year pulling those programs together. How do they work together under one management structure? We will talk a little bit later, and I know you're fully aware of some of the budgetary challenges and one-time funding of many of those programs and how we will move forward. So we've got a lot of work to do there. And then establish a brand-new office of council operations. You spoke with the clerk a bit about how will the council actually operate and how will they be supported. And you may know that in the Cal ordinance that you passed last fall, there was some money in there for some staffing for council operations. I think we've got a lot of work to do this calendar year to establish what does that mean and what are the operational duties of that office? How would they work with the clerk's office and how does that process work? So a lot of work to do there. So we have plenty of things to keep us going this year in preparing to operationalize this city administrator's office. Next slide, please. And so this slide simply brings together visually all of the different component parts that we're pulling together in the office. And they're very different. Some of these are pretty well established. The Office of Equity and Human Rights is well established. We're bringing that into the office. Civic Life is an established office that we're bringing in. Also, we know about that. Government Relations, certainly, although they're extremely busy right now, we're gonna get them working together with us to put the office together. But then a number of new things. I've already mentioned Portland Solutions and council operations, but a centralized communications effort under the communications officer, and then the officer roles, as I mentioned before, for equity and for engagement with the community and civic life group. Next slide, please. I just wanted to put this slide in so to remind you, maybe this gives you a little better context of what we're talking about. You'll recall that this is what you adopted last November, the organizational structure for the executive office. And you can see that the administrator reports to the mayor. There are 6 deputies reporting to the administrator. Probably one of the key roles in this office is that assistant city administrator who has 5 different offices or officers reporting to them, and the equity officer and the sustainability officer reporting directly to the city administrator. I just wanted to remind you, this may be a little more familiar way to think about the office because you spent so much time deliberating on it last fall. And with that, I'm going to turn it over to Shannon Fairchild to give you some high-level look at the financials in the office. And before she starts, however, I want to personally thank Shannon. I would call this one of the more Herculean efforts in getting a budget together in the city in a brand new process, in a brand new office with a bunch of things from somewhere else, and figuring out how to bring all those pieces together. And I want to thank Shannon for her effort. Shannon.
Thank you. Shannon Fairchild from the Office of Management and Finance. So there are 2 slides I want to walk you through today that provide a high-level overview of the city administrator's requested budget, which totals $78.4 million. This first slide that you see before you is a snapshot of the revenue sources that fund the city administrator's office. And when you look at the slide, there's a couple of kind of stories here that I wanted to break down for you, so to give you context for the rest of the work session presentation today. The first involves kind of everything below the Portland Solutions, so meaning the Office of the City Attorney on down. These bureaus and offices are relatively small budgets, which are funded with almost entirely general fund resources. Exception is the City Attorney's Office, which is funded with about 50% general fund and 50% with interagency resources from customer bureaus. Per the mayor's guidance, the requested budget includes a 5% general fund ongoing constraint, which together totals about 1.5 million. The bureaus in the service area who took a 5% constraint are the city attorney's office, Office of Government Relations, Office of Equity and Human Rights, and Civic Life. And the directors from each of these bureaus will be discussing their cuts and their base budgets with you today. The chart also reflects 779 and some change in general fund resources that were appropriated for the city administrator position, the administrator's executive assistant, and about 1.6 million for council operations in the November current appropriation level, or what we refer to as the Cal ordinance. This chart also reflects some realignments that we did in the base budget. So about 200,000 in general fund resources were realigned from the Office of Management and Finance to offset a portion of the Unified Comms team decision package, which you'll hear more about later today, as well as a portion of the cost of the Assistant City Administrator decision package. Finally, I wanted to be sure to highlight that together the Office of Government Relations, Office of Equity and Human Rights, and Unified Communications, the pilot team, have approximately 500,000 in ARPA resources that are budgeted in the requested budget, but they expire in December of 2024. The second kind of story here on this slide is the Portland Solutions story. So it is by far the largest piece of the city administrator's budget. It is made of 4 programs. They are the Street Services Coordination Center, the Shelter Services Program, the Impact Reduction Program, and the Public Engagement Management Office, which we refer to as PMO, all of which are either entirely or in part funded with one-time general fund resources. So due to the constrained fiscal environment, there are no one-time general fund resources available to request. So the number you see here, this 40.1, does not include any one-time general fund resources. So I just want to be clear about that. The number that is shown here, the 40.1 million, about 10.9 million is for the Impact Reduction Program, which is funded by a mix of interagency resources, Solid Waste Management Fund, general fund resources, and ODOT resources, as well as the other remaining piece here is the Shelter Services Program, which is supported with general fund, ARPA, and Metro Supportive Housing Service resources in Oregon and all. Okay, next slide. All right, so this is a more straightforward story. So to kind of continue separating Portland Solutions from the rest of the pack, what you'll see here is that the bureaus and programs in the city administrator's office are mostly consists of personnel costs. It amounts to about 27.5 million, or 78% of the service area budget when you remove Portland Solutions, and it funds about 134 FTE. Again, for Portland Solutions, the expenses shown here are just those backed by anything or non-one-time general fund resources. Portland Solutions has a different mix of expenditures compared to its peers in the city administrator's office, and this is in large part reflective of the work it does, which are largely external material services to fund campsite cleanup, shelter services. All right, and with that, I'm going to turn it over to the bureaus.
Good afternoon, Mayor Wheeler and Commissioners. My name is Sam Chase. I am the Director for the Office of Government Relations, and I use he, him pronouns. And I will discuss how the Office of Government Relations will meet the 5% constraint and address the rising cost of internal material and services, the impact of those decisions, and then a more holistic look at the total impacts of expiring funds from ARPA and general fund as well. I want to flag that the office's budget, as Shannon discussed, is predominantly personnel. We have very few, really no assets or projects that we can defer. Our power is in our people. A constraint necessitates reducing support to our staff and staffing capacity. To meet the ongoing reduction of the 5% constraint, we have identified a long-term vacant position in the Tribal Relations Program. and reductions in out-of-town travel and funding that support OGR services. Reduced ability to, the service impacts include, with the Tribal Relations Program, reduced ability to foster relationships with tribal governments and address the needs of Portland's urban Native American and Alaska Native communities, and this is one of 3 positions for that program. Limited ability to advocate this, and then the travel costs have gone up, as many of us know, but we are also in a position where we need to cut travel funding, and so that will limit the ability to advocate and support council priorities with national and international governments and delegations. And then that will also, there will be some effect on miscellaneous, which means minimized program memberships, conference attendance, other partnerships with, that build the city's influence with decision makers. In addition to the so I want to also provide an overall financial picture that in addition to the constraint and rising costs of impacts, there are 2 distinct budget elements that will also impact the city Government Relations Office. One is expiring of one-time rescue plan funds that will eliminate the GOAT. We call it the GOAT affectionately, the Grant Opportunities and Advancement Team Program. The program has been successful in effectively and efficiently coordinating grant applications across city bureaus and advancing grant opportunities, managing partnerships, and eliminating duplication, being much more efficient with the capacities that we have as a city to generate more dollars from federal, state, and other resources. There will also be expiration of one-time, and so that's two positions that will go away because of the ARPA expiration. Those will be at the end of this year. Expiration of one-time general fund discretionary funds will reduce state relations capacity, and this will result in the loss of funds for our state lobby contract. OGR staff depend on the contracted lobby team to support a wide range of lobbying activity directly related to our state legislative agenda. Last session, as an example, the state team either saved or generated funding for a net increase to the city budget of more than $100 million. And that's just in the areas of taxation and direct shelter funding alone. The overall effect of these 3 cuts, as I've described, is a loss of 27% from the current year and the capacity that we have this year, which is my only year of experience in the office. We will see a 27% decrease in the current workforce capacity that OGR has. And so this will result in a commensurate revision of the deliverables that we'll be expecting from our team.
Jeff?
Great.
Thank you, Sam.
Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Jeff Selby. My pronouns are he, him. I am the Interim Director of the Office of Equity and Human Rights. The proposed budget for the Office of Equity presents some functional challenges, as I'm sure you're used to hearing now from everyone. But one bright spot I will get to at the end of the quick presentation here. So as far as ongoing reduction, the expiration of one-time funding in the Office of Equity means that we will lose 5 staff members, which is more than 20% of our entire staff. 4 positions in June of this year will expire with one-time funding, and 1 in December, which is funded by American Rescue Plan dollars. The reduction in staff will severely limit our capacity to fulfill our citywide equity mandate to set and guide the city's equity policies and procedures. The positions that will expire include the Civil Rights Title VI and ADA Title II investigator position, which would help educate and support bureaus with complex investigations so we can better serve systemically excluded and institutionally oppressed community members, and prevent very costly litigation as well. We've had a challenge in getting staff hired for that position. It was a one-time funded, since it is a one-time funded position, we had hired somebody, and then after 2 weeks, he left to take a permanent position somewhere else. So it's been a real challenge having that a one-time funded position. We also will be losing our training analyst, which cuts our citywide training team to one person. Our LGBTQIA2S plus analyst, which will leave that team, that policy citywide team, to just one person. We will lose our equity strategies analyst who guides the city in several efforts, including the racial equity plan process, and an administrative specialist position, which who supports our program areas. On top of expiring funding, we are cutting the blackmail achievement staff position and program to meet our 5% reduction goal. This cut will do away with a regional effort to address the barriers faced by young Black men and boys. The one, I guess, bright spot, and I guess everything is relative when you're talking about limited budget years, but the one bright spot is that we will not be filling our vacancy for financial analyst, but rather depend on the city administrator's office business operations team to assist us with various functions that one position could not realistically fulfill effectively. So that is a bit of good news that we're looking forward to. As you all have elevated equity in the city by agreeing to create a chief equity officer position with more authority in the city and elevating the work of the Office of Equity and Human Rights under that chief equity officer in the city administrator's office. The Office of Equity will obviously support the chief equity officer in implementing their vision and plans, but we will have to do so in a limited capacity in this budget. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Joe.
Next, we have Office of Community and Civic Life.
Welcome.
Hi, I'm Isita. I'm the manager for Civic Life. I'm filling in for our director, Murad Radby, who cannot be here today. Our budget, Civic Life's fiscal year 24-25 requested budget of about 6.8 million reflects a 5% reduction in the amount of 375,291 and an internal realignment of resources with our service area bureaus. Our actions include the realignment to align with the new 4 voting district. We are changing the structure of our neighborhood outreach and support program. We are moving from a 7-district coalition model with 4 nonprofit-run and 3 city-run coalition to 4 nonprofit-run coalition. In this new model, each coalition is assigned 1 coordinator along with their supervisor to provide day-to-day support for the coalitions. The goal here is to provide a single point of contact for the district coalition and for the community members in this new district to connect and engage with city government and citywide services. This alignment reduces the position count for the neighborhood outreach and support program from 7.7 to 5.0. The difference of the 2 FTE is then transferred to Portland Solutions in addition to the additional 2 FTE that was previously transferred during the fall bump process. In addition to that, we also will sunset Constructing Civic Dialogues program. We hope that these changes will have minimal impact on the service delivery to the community as we plan to incorporate the Constructing Civic Dialogues key function within the neighborhood outreach and support program. We also want to optimize the shared resources within the service area and citywide, and increase the collaboration between community partners identify shared resources between community partners, and hope to lower operation costs when available. Some of the financial issues that we recognize is that the potential increases of service delivery costs to the community members or community partners as they take on additional task roles and the continued increased cost of insurance coverages. However, we are currently working with PSU Population Research Center to build out a very robust community map that has both population and demographic data. And we hope to utilize that data to formulate better and targeted granting programs so that our funding can go further. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mayor, members of council, my name's Robert Taylor. I'm your city attorney. First, I want to thank all of the outstanding lawyers and legal professionals in the city attorney's office. And it's been another good year for us, and it's a pleasure to have this opportunity to talk a little bit about what we do. I also want to thank Christine Jividend, who's here in the room. She is our budget guru, helps us so much throughout this whole process, and I just want to thank her. We really couldn't do this presentation without her, and she's outstanding. Just the brief overview, we've got 47 attorneys and 40 legal professional support staff in the office. It's about a $21 million budget. And as you saw in one of the previous slides, the vast majority of that is personnel expenses. We're just a people-heavy operation and not other equipment or that type of thing. Last fiscal year, we reviewed and approved over 6,000 contracts for the city, handled over 1,200 litigation cases, provided over 400 hours of training to city staff, and provided countless hours of support and advice for council priorities that run the gamut for all the things that impact our city. We've really appreciated council's support for our office in the past couple of budget cycles. Coming into this budget, we're not asking for anything new. We don't have any new addition packages. We understand the need to provide constraints, and so I'm here to talk about those. Because we are a person-heavy operation, to meet that constraint, we would have to eliminate positions. And our proposal is to eliminate 3, and I'll walk you through those. The first is a legal assistant position that's currently vacant right now. The second is an honors attorney position that will become vacant in September. And the third is a attorney position in the office that's currently filled.
For those of us who don't know the term, what is an honors attorney?
So an honors attorney, thank you, Mayor, great question. So our honors attorney program is something that our office does to help provide opportunities for new law school graduates from underserved and underrepresented communities who are interested in public service, an opportunity to come to the city attorney's office, provide great legal work for the city for a 2-year duration, and then move on to practice elsewhere in the city, hopefully doing public service for the community. And we have 2 of those positions now. It's been a very good program for the honors attorneys. It's been a very good program for the city. But those are sort of offsets so that their terms overlap. And our plan would be to, when the current person in that position terms out, we would eliminate that position, but we would still keep the one honors attorney position in our budget ongoing. And as the slide demonstrates, there are service impacts to to these cuts. The first is the legal work of the city is not optional. We have to defend the lawsuits, we have to collect the taxes, we have to give the advice, and approve the contracts. We do provide service at a lower hourly rate than outside counsel. So if you kind of factor the internal city attorney hourly rate, it's about $200 an hour. Outside counsel, it averages at about $400 an hour. So every case we can't handle internally and we have to send outside, it ultimately costs us more money. We did some analysis this past year to see, how much additional overtime work folks do in our office. We're all salaried, we don't get paid overtime, but we do work over the required number of hours. And it amounts to about 2 FTEs worth of extra time worked by attorneys in the office. So if we eliminate a position, that extra work is going to have to be borne by folks. And, we're always worried about retention and that kind of thing. So there could be that impact. And I'm happy to answer any questions, but we really appreciate your support. We understand these are difficult decisions and discussions, and we will support whatever council decides.
Thanks, Robert.
Next is Portland Solutions, and Skylar Barker Knapp is here to talk about it.
All right. Hello, everybody. Skylar Barker Knapp, I'm a senior policy advisor for the mayor, and I'm giving you the overview of these programs because I currently oversee the operations of 3 of them. Dakota Thompson, who's in the mayor's office as well, is here, who oversees the public environment management office. And then we also have directors from each of the programs who are here to answer specific questions if you have them. These programs, 3 of these programs are emergency declaration programs. As Shannon mentioned earlier, they are funded in a lot of one-time funding. The city shelter program is a little more complex with various funding streams that will go into this next year. The idea is to institutionalize these programs into the one umbrella program under Portland Solutions, which will be in the city administrator's office and ultimately under the mayor. Obviously, a significant percentage of the budgets for these programs come from one-time funding, so we'll just discuss the needs to keep the current service levels as they are now. Also note, it was mentioned earlier that the 2 vacant civic life positions will be realigned to fund a director position, and it will be one of your decision packages as well. These are all small but very important teams that do a lot of really critical work that's directly responsive to community needs and desires. So please keep that in mind. Next slide, please. The first we're going to go over is the Street Services Coordination Center. This is from an emergency declaration in 2022 that the mayor signed. This is a coordination of city resources, programs, and bureaus, as well as outside resources as well. So that includes the Joint Office of Homeless Services under Multnomah County, as well as some ODOT partners and others. They conduct outreach to unsheltered individuals and are immediately responsive to the public. So emails, constituent complaints or questions, calls directly to that team as well. It's 6 limited term positions run by our incident commander, Nate Takara, who's in the audience and can answer specific questions if you have them. We also recently hired an outreach director, Kim James. She's only been with the team for a few months and has already done incredible work with Nate and his team. We're really excited to have them on board. It's a $4.5 million one-time general fund budget currently. Next slide, please. The next one we're going to talk about is the city shelter program. We are newer to this work in the last few years. So it includes 9 shelters, Safe Rest Villages, a temporary alternative shelter site, a safe park village, and the River District Navigation Center. So a confluence of different programs and shelter types. And we also have, that's 9 shelters, and we have a 10th that's in development currently. We're also expanding 2 of those shelters currently. This program is run by Brandy Westerman, who's the Emergency Humanitarian Operations Director, and her shelter team. It's 9 limited term city positions and 4 full-time equivalent staff in the joint office to support the contracted providers for a lot of the Safe Rest Village and Safe Park shelters. The current budget is $52.5 million in one-time resources. Again, this comes from a variety of sources. So ARPA money, the Metro Services, Supportive Housing Services measure, as well as Oregon All-In state funding from the governor's emergency order, or executive order, and general fund resources. Next slide, please. The Impact Reduction Program began as a small program about 10 years ago. Now is much larger than that initial investment. Folks who oversee that program, Lucas Hillier manages that program and started it at the beginning. He manages a small team of about 4 people, but it includes a lot of contracted providers, coordination with ODOT, for example, through an intergovernmental agreement, as well as Central City Concern and Rapid Response, BioClean as contractors. They do unsanctioned camping and garbage removal, hygiene access, resource referral, job opportunities, site removal, and property storage. A lot of those aspects are also heavily regulated from different legal settlements and state law. The current budget is $18.4 million ongoing and one-time revenues, so different interagency revenue from the city, and then ODOT, as well as the Solid Waste Management Fund, and its ongoing and one-time general fund, so a mix of the two. This has seen an unprecedented increase in the last few years, as I'm sure you're all aware, especially with the confluence of COVID, Measure 110, a lot of different issues that we've seen around the city, so we've seen an increased need for their services. They do an incredible amount of work with just this tiny team, and so we're happy to answer questions if you have them later on, the specifics that the contractors engage in, because there's a lot of contracted work as well. Next slide, please. The Public Environment Management Office was also an emergency declaration program. This program oversees problem solver meetings that people meet every 2 weeks with different neighborhoods across the city. Dakota Thompson, as I mentioned, is here to answer questions, as well as Deputy Director Ann Hill in the audience. There's a team of 5 limited term positions currently, and it's a $5 million one-time general fund program. In addition to the problem solver meetings, the information that they garner from those meetings are directly result in street tree lighting, thousands of trees around the city, murals, graffiti removal, and bulky waste removal. And they're meeting with neighborhood associations and business districts on a regular basis. Just for some context, these programs all know neighbors by name, business district representatives by name. They're in constant communication by phone, by email, and are well acquainted kind of with the problems of the city and are trying to be directly and immediately responsive to the issues that are brought up. All right, next slide, please. So for the fiscal year 24-25 estimated budget, we just put the slide together, thank you, Shannon, for the estimated needs and the impact of not funding these programs. Pretty straightforward. Obviously, a lot of one-time resources that are currently used. The Impact Reduction Program, as I mentioned, has some ongoing money, but this is kind of the one-time need. If we do have ongoing resources, we're recommending putting them towards the Impact Reduction Program and the Public Environment Management Office, and discussing that, obviously, with the mayor. So the programs would end, or shelters would close, or we'd have to limit expansion if we were not to receive these funds. Happy to answer any questions about that.
Mr. Mayor, I know I said we should wait to the end, but you've heard a lot so far, and we have a fair amount to go regarding transition. So I wanted to maybe take a deep breath, and if anybody had any burning questions, particularly around Portland Solutions.
Yeah,
or
so
anything
why don't we take a break here on, I don't mean literally take a, well, actually, what time we, why don't we go through Q&A on what we've heard up to this point?
Okay.
Then Megan is going to remind me that we need to give people a break. I have specifically tasked her with that responsibility because I forgot the other day. I think we went for like 4 hours and people were like dying. So let's go ahead and start with Commissioner Gonzalez.
I think I'll start with Portland Solutions. So slide 18, trying to map this to the program's current, ongoing, and one time. So maybe just starting with city shelter, we're saying estimated need is $6 million one time. And I think the city shelter slide had 52.5 in one-time resources. Can you just help me?
Yeah.
So that I'm tracking this?
Absolutely, Commissioner. So that 6 million one time is to close a gap for the Safe Rest Village program that currently exists for this next fiscal year. Otherwise, we have actually have resources to cover the rest of those costs.
Okay.
So a lot of that is coming from the supportive housing services measure from Metro, for example, as well as the Oregon All-In funding that will fund the Clinton Triangle task site for the next fiscal year.
And so that's supportive housing, but by way of the Joint Office on Homelessness, is
It
there?
goes technically through the county, but yes.
Okay, got it. And so what is our true ongoing cost for the shelter system, ignoring, ramp up? And I know that's hard given how,
Yeah.
we're in a ramping stage, but what's our true ongoing need to maintain our current task sites?
Yeah, Sarah, my boss, might have the number off the top of her head. I will just say the task sites are coming in around 5 to 7 million a year in ongoing costs, and then the Safe Rest Villages are between 3 and 4 million apiece. So we have one task site currently. We're expanding 2 shelter sites to kind of that same service level, so 5 to 7 million, and then the other sites are 3 to 4.
Hi, Sarah Morrissey, Mayor's Deputy Chief of Staff. So to operate the 9 sites, which is approximately 850 guests for the following fiscal year, so 25-26, we're currently estimating around a cost of 34 million to operate that program.
And the 850 guests, is that 850 in capacity, or is what?
So it's 778 units.
Okay.
So those are RVs, those are pods, and within that, we've estimated around a cap of 850 guests. That's with the expansion of 2 of the existing Safe Rest Villages.
And now that we're on this subject, if you were to estimate the number of people served in a 1-year time, just given, we're having good push through in task site, for example, do you have any idea what number that would be?
I think it'd be 2 to 3 times probably. Conservative would be 2 folks, so double the number.
Okay.
And I think part of the challenge, right, is having access to housing vouchers and other types of services. So it is dependent on the rest of the system as well.
Well, I'm almost, this is for people listening at home. I think sometimes we get really focused on the cost per bed site in these shelters, and what gets lost is the push through. We're serving multiple people in that spot in a 1 year's time. So anyways, when we're thinking about the cost of the investment and really the societal benefit, I hope that's not lost. Of the 23 to 20 or the 33 to 34 million to operate, maybe separately, I just would like to understand the assumptions for next year on what's going to be supportive housing, joint office, what the state's going to do, what's general fund. To truly understand those.
Yeah, and I'm happy to provide that spreadsheet to your office. We've been working very closely to do those projections. I would also add that we are asking the state legislature to help fund that gap, as well as the county through SHS funding. So we have a few asks out there because we know the position the city is in related to general fund. And so we're hopeful that one of those partners can step up as well.
Got it. And then, I thought I had a question on impact reduction program, but it probably is going to sort of mirror what the questions I asked about shelter, just understanding what we anticipate is going to be the ongoing need and what current resources we think we have for that to get to, I guess, the difference between the 18.4 and the 5.3 you're identifying here. Just what are the existing assumptions on sources?
And I would add, just for IRP, and Lucas, who's the director and wearing a tie today,
I know.
it will be able to answer. But part of the structure for the program itself comes through a variety of funds. So ODOT, so that will depend on kind of what the funding from ODOT is after this legislative session. There's also the solid waste fund, there's interagency agreements, and then there's general fund, as well as potential carryover. So it is a varied source. And Lucas, I don't know if you want to add anything to that.
No, Lucas Hillier, City of Portland. I manage the impact reduction program. As far as what I think ongoing we would need, I think I sent Sarah an email last year around this time saying there will be a day when we don't need to spend $16 million a year cleaning camps in Portland. But unfortunately, that time was not this day last year, and nor is it this time this year. Right now, we have a pretty big disparity on how we can treat state property, given the budget constraints there. So we're seeing large buildups of out-of-control encampments. And I think what the state is asking for is 2 years of kind of surge dollars in order to get that under control. And I would hope that with all the other investments, the need for so much camp removal work will decrease.
And so true ongoing for impact reduction program, what is I recognize the gap here, but is it 18.4 or is it more like 16? Just so I'm trying to calibrate what we think the ongoing need is or anticipating next year.
What do you think, Sarah?
Well, so it's not going to be 18 because of the different revenue sources that exist. So right now, general fund, the ask is 6.6. I think it's going to depend, like Lucas is saying, on the condition year over year. Right now, the general fund ongoing that IRP receives is approximately between 2 and 3 million. So that is kind of the base plus ODOT plus the solid waste fund. So you get to less than 18, but more than 6. So it's just going to depend. I think for ongoing, we're seeing a need now. I don't think we're going to see a reduction in that for a while. And so the ask would be to have that ongoing so we can make sure to keep our public spaces clean and for the use of all Portlanders.
And let me phrase it slightly different. I realize ODOT's a complexity here, and I apologize, I'm jumping back and forth between sources and uses, but what is the assumption for the next fiscal year in terms of cost of the program that would be truly ongoing and not one time?
You want to speak to that, Lucas?
Yeah. Well, we put a model together that calculates the cost per crew. One crew, which is 3 humans, cleaning techs, is about $486,000 a year if they're working 40 hours a week every week. What we are able to have right now is 18 crews and a couple crews from our auxiliary contractor. And so I don't know that we're going to need all 18 crews 3 years from now. I would imagine that we'll probably need a fair number of crews for the next 2 years.
Okay. So I may circle back just as I'm trying to digest that a little bit, but I think that gives me something to reference.
Yeah, I think I would just say for the existing level of service, to keep that, we're going to need 6 million for the next fiscal year.
That's in terms, 6 million, okay. Yeah. And then last question in this sector. So PIMO, people love PIMO. My God, I mean, I hear this from anyone who's interacted with people gush about it. And is there stronger alignment with business districts or neighborhood associations, or is it just really both? Like, where is it? Because I sometimes wonder, is PIMO doing stuff that, would it belong in a place like, Prosper Portland, or would it belong in civic life? Or, and given, the dexterity you guys have shown in PIMO, I totally get its close proximity to the mayor's office, but I just sometimes thought about what's you're really serving a variety of constituents. So I'm generally curious,
so Commissioner, thank you. So Dakota Thompson, Deputy Director, Community Safety, and the liaison to PIMO in the mayor's office.
And you just made his day, by the way, because he doesn't get thanked very often.
I got to say, PIMO is one of the things that I have never heard a negative thing from a constituent about PIMO. I only hear positive, and it's so great job.
Well, you can come to some of the problem solver meetings. Some of the things out there. So I'll start with the first part. The community that PIMO is serving is really all of it. It is the business organizations. Let's take the Old Town Problem Solver meeting as a great example for all hosts of reasons that's salient. But the Chinese Garden, they show up. You know, their members are there, their executive members, as well as people from hotels, restaurants, as well as just residents. So in that sense, it's a very, very inclusive. They're definitely centered on those business cores because that's where that's where a lot of the traffic is. And it helps us center the program output in a way that touches more people. And then the other part of your question with respect to where does it sit and what makes the most sense? Part of the answer there is that Prosper and Civic Life have, it might take anyhow, they have a long-term mission that is just kind of baked into how they're doing things. You know, they're looking pretty far forward a lot of the time. And some of their stuff is certainly not far forward, right? They have on-the-ground immediate stuff they're doing. But all of the things that PIMO is doing is immediate. These meetings happen every 2 weeks, and we are expected to show up in a 2-week turnaround with, we either didn't do what you asked us to do or we did. And we show up and we explain either way what happens. So that distinction is really powerful in terms of where it's housed and how it's been operating because of how quick we're supposed to be doing the things we're doing. We're not looking super duper far into the future. It's not about, do we want to talk to you about the road plan and how you're going to get a new bike lane or how the road lanes are going through your neighborhood. It's more about, hey, this sign is covered in graffiti or that business got hit. Make sure we're sending out the small business program housed in Commissioner Rubio's bureau that works very closely with us under the emergency declaration. We're able to exert some authority over where those resources are spent. And because of that, it gets addressed a little bit quicker because of that turnaround time.
Got it. Super helpful. A last question on Portland Solutions. What is your current assumption around standing up the various components of it inside of Portland Solutions? Are we thinking that's July 1? What if anything's January 1 of 2025? What's potentially before that under your current assumptions, and how firm are you on those assumptions at this point?
Yeah, fair question. Thanks, Commissioner. So we actually, all of these programs are currently in place. All the 4 verticals are currently in place under emergency declarations. And then the impact reduction program kind of as is. But we will be standing up a director position come July 1st to kind of oversee from that umbrella structure. But we kind of frankly run it currently out of the mayor's office in that similar way. So it'll just be basically moving over to the city administrator's office.
Got it. I actually had a number of questions about the other presentations, but I want to sort of give my colleagues an opportunity to ask questions. So thank you.
Thanks. Commissioner Maps.
Thank you very much. I'm going to try to, I have 3 questions I want to ask in this space, and I'll try to be relatively efficient. And at some point, I'm going to want to flip between a couple of slides, including slide 7. But for the first question, I don't need the slide. I don't understand where the joint office falls into the budget. So that doesn't appear to be in Portland Solutions. Where is it? Have we already talked about that in this process?
Yes, so we have not. So part of that city shelter program, the convoluted nature of kind of the funding streams is that some money is coming from the county or passed through the county, basically from Metro and the state. And we are also sending money to the joint office for certain other operations. So for example, that River District Navigation Center that I mentioned, we manage the lease and own that property, but the joint office holds the contract for the provider, and part of the money that we send to the joint office goes to that provider for that contract, as an example. So there's pass-through funds that are happening on both sides.
Okay, it would be great if at some point council can get maybe a briefer. This is our last work session
Absolutely.
on the budget. It would be wonderful if we can get some sort of briefing to understand how that is framed. Can we go to slide 7, I think it is? That should show where the source of funds comes from the requested. So this is great. Number one, I want to thank the budget office or whoever put this together. It's very helpful. Unlike some previous presentations we've seen, we haven't seen where the sources of money comes from. That's really helpful to me. I just want to be sure I'm reading this correctly. So in what you're saying here for the requested budget for Portland Solutions, none of this is coming out of general funds. Is that what that slide, the top a bar shows?
Go ahead.
ahead.
Yes, so there are no one-time general funds. That fund transfer that you see in green, there's a little bit of ongoing general funds in there, as well as solid waste management fund. So that 4.6 million that you see.
So that's a general fund transfer
Yeah, as well as solid waste management fund is grouped in that green.
in that green. Okay, I guess one of the, at least for me as a policy guy, or me sitting at this end of the table, you know, we tend to think of there's a certain politics and discussions that happen around general fund dollars, and then there are ratepayer dollars and whatnot. So it's kind of helpful to me to have an understanding of which, where in particular general funds are coming from. And that's one of the things I'm trying to figure out. Because when I looked at that, I was like, oh, great, no Portland Solution dollars are coming out of general funds. But I feel like in the presentation, in slide probably 18, can we go to that? It seems like, at least for PMO and Impact, there's some general fund dollars involved there. Is that what?
So we're looking at two different points in time. So the first slide that was up, slide number 7, that shows the 24-25 requested budget. These numbers here are based on what's in the current year budget, which won't be available next year because there is no one-time general fund resources. So it shows the gap.
So 24, 25 budget needs.
Yep.
Okay, so it doesn't, so this is different from the budget request.
Because we can't, we're not able to request one-time general fund resources in the budget. So that initial slide that we were going through, slide 7, is like the absence of, it almost doesn't, it shows an absence of one-time general fund. Which is symbolized here.
I think that would be helpful, and I think Commissioner Gonzalez might have been struggling with some of the same issues with this particular slide, because I'm seeing, when I looked at current spending for street services coordination, currently we're spending 4.5, and you folks need another 3.4 on top of the current level. Okay. I think that helps me. I think I was just reading this presentation, or I wasn't fully tracking the argument that was being made here. Maybe a summary slide of current, either an increase or decrease, and maybe sources of the.
Can I jump in here before Sarah gives the correct answer? Because she's always smarter and more in tuned on these issues than I'm. But there is something I have to say here.
Yeah.
Number one, we took a risk with all of this. We have been building this structure and all of its programming because we saw them as being the community's top priorities.
Yeah.
Sarah and Skylar singularly have gone out and raised about $44 million to put these programs together. Now the question for this council, and I would argue the new council, is do you want to continue this work? Do you want to institutionalize it? Because we're all going to be gone in a matter of months. And so what we are overtly trying to do is push it into the city's infrastructure, institutionalize it, and make it part of the day-to-day operations of this city. But it's going to require a lot of lifting on the part of all of us to put the fiscal pieces together. We're not going to be able to do it in 1 year. We're going to have to do this over a course of a number of years. But the goal for the proposed budget will be to get as far as we possibly can to building this into the operating infrastructure of the city, putting it in the right place under the city's management function, and building resources to fund it permanently. And I can't remember which of you asked, but it was a really insightful question.
Renee.
Well, I'll just give you both credit for it, which is where is the state in this and where is the county in this? You asked about the joint office. I think Renee asked about ODOT. And part of the work that we're doing, our team is doing behind the scenes, is lobbying to make sure that we have those partnerships in place to be able to continue this work and frankly expand it. The good news is it's working. All of these models have been validated. They work. They are helping to recover our city. And as I've said for many, many months, now it's scaling it. It's institutionalizing it. It's making it part of the day-to-day operations of the city, as opposed to just a couple of disparate programs based out of the mayor's office. It won't work if that's how it's structured.
And Mr. Mayor,
Sarah, I think, had some.
And Commissioner, I just wanted to answer 2 questions really quickly. So the joint office budget that is submitted, that typically goes through PHB because that is the holder of the IGA. For this year, what we have communicated to the chair's office is that the city would like to provide the CAL target for the joint office with the constraint. So that's the current appropriation level plus the constraint. And we've made requests on how some of that funding is used. The chair receives the budget first from working with the joint office. We've asked Director Field to brief all of you individually on especially how the city's portion is proposed to be used. And we've informed them that we are not going to be funding the serial one-time $8 million that the city has been providing to the joint office for the past few years. So that's the joint office update. In terms of the estimated need, there's the current service level and kind of what is budgeted within this fiscal year. A lot of that funding, because it's one time, we will be requesting to carry it over. This slide shows the delta between what we need from general fund to keep the existing service level. So $6 million for impact reduction program, PMO's about $5 million, city shelter $6 million, and then SSCC 3.4. So that's the difference in the slides.
Thank you very much. That explanation is very helpful. I want to circle back to some of the things that the mayor said, which is I completely agree with, and I really want to give Mayor Wheeler some credit here. All 4 of these programs, which are both on this slide and kind of represented by the humans in front of us, were very much pilot projects that I pretty much got to see emerge, either scale up enormously or really get started from the beginning in my 3 years here. A lot of uncertainty about how all this stuff would turn out, and I think Commissioner Gonzalez kind of captured some of the things that I hear too, which is you guys are just doing amazing stuff under enormous circumstances. I appreciate the mayor's frank talk about the need to, or the opportunity here to institutionalize the great work that you folks are doing. And I am very much on board with that. I think this is the work that the city should be doing right now. And frankly, I'm much more comfortable with the city occupying this lane compared to some of the other lanes that I've seen us occupy in the past. I think the work that I need to do as a member of council to get from here to there is just to understand the real cost. And I know it'll be hard and it's hard to say out loud, but as we head into this budget cycle, just sort of knowing how much it really is going to be, how much of that's general fund, how much of that is some sort of intergovernmental, especially intergovernmental, which is not between bureaus, but between the state and the county, for example, is what would be particularly helpful to me. And that's what budget processes like this are about. So I appreciate the clarity and look forward to future conversation. And with that, I think that's all I have to say on, or I could say a lot more, but we have more opportunities. That's all I want to say on Portland Solutions today.
Great. Any other questions before we take a break? Why don't we take a 10-minute break? Well, ish. Can we make it back at 4? Is that okay? It's about 8 minutes. We're in recess till 4.
it's on some magic. Okay. We were on slide 18, which were the decision packages for Portland Solutions. Next slide, please, because we're going to move right on with the packages for the rest of the city administrator's office. We have 3 packages today to talk to, and I'm going to talk to the first one, and we've got Laura Oppenheimer here, and Shoshana Oppenheim. So I get them mixed up all the time, twins. Anyway, so the first package, we are presenting a package that council may remember that in the CAL ordinance last year, city administrator was included, but the assistant was not. And so we're bringing the assistant package forward for the assistant city administrator. I've already talked this earlier today about the reporting relationships within the office, fairly sizable span of control for this person. And we are going to be also asking for 247 plus thousand, and we are repurposing 128, almost 129,000 from the current costs for the deputy chief administrative officer in my office. That position has that span of control I mentioned earlier. They also will serve as part of the executive leadership team for the city. And I'm going to move quickly to the next package, which I believe is, we went backwards. For one more slide. There we go, unified comms. Laura?
Here we are. Thank you. Good afternoon, Mayor and Commissioners. My name is Laura Oppenheimer. I use she and her pronouns. I'm the Strategic Communications Manager in the Office of Management and Finance. Historically, the City of Portland has done a really good job communicating about bureaus, programs, and initiatives, but has lacked what I would call communications infrastructure. And that's the tools, systems, templates, resources, and strategies to both help staff across our bureaus communicate effectively and efficiently, and also to provide a trusted voice for Portlanders to be able to access resources and information and participate in decision-making without having to understand how all our bureaus are organized. We've made a great deal of progress in building that infrastructure over the last couple of years through the Unified Communications pilot that was launched in 2021 and has 3 staff members who've been working hard in collaboration with our bureaus to build that infrastructure. The decision package that you'll see in the requested budget is really a continuation of those one-time resources for the program, along with the funding of the communications officer position that was in the organizational chart approved last fall. So the first bullets here on the slide help outline specifically what's funded. It's the continuation of those 2 limited term roles. They have American Rescue Plan funding through December of this year and would expire at that time in the absence of the decision package. It also realigns funding for one regular status position with the city that is currently funded by the Office of Management and Finance, but is doing citywide work as a part of this pilot and would be moving to the city administrator's office to continue that work. As I said, the funding of the communications officer role, and then a minimal amount of materials and services funding to make sure they have access to essential tools and provide that continuity. Obviously, the 2 years of the pilot project gave us a good basis for this recommendation. In addition to that, we did some exploration last year of what we could learn from those couple of years and how to transition into the new form of government. We conducted a survey of 135 internal stakeholders, communication staff, collaborators. Almost every bureau director was represented, and the city council office staff participated in that as well. They were able to help define what services they felt we should prioritize in the new form of government to help the city to be effective. We also took a close look at community feedback received through the Portland Insights Survey and the charter review process, which gives us some really good insight in where people are struggling to find the information they need from city government. We were fortunate to be able to engage a strategic communications consultant in looking at research from peer cities and conducting some interviews about what is working well for them and how they formulate communications teams to work effectively and really provide the community with what they need. Before moving on to the services, I did want to note that the recommendation came out calling for somewhere around 8 to 10 staff on the central communications team. The earlier fiscal impact statement with the organizational chart reflected something closer to that. In light of the current budget environment, the decision package that's included in the recommended budget calls just for the continuation of the 3 existing positions with the addition of the officer. Next slide, please. And this is just a brief overview of the services you could expect with that level of funding. The items with check marks are a continuation of what's been established over these last couple of years. You'll see there's a growing base of tools, templates, and resources available to all city staff. There are City of Portland social media accounts that did not exist before 2021 that help provide that one trusted voice for the community. This team is the convener for citywide coordination and networking. Anytime there's an emergency or a crisis situation, they jump in and work with those bureaus on the communications efforts. They run an equipment library, work on website content strategy, and implement communications software. The last 3 items you see there are things that would be new or expanded services to reflect the changes we're seeing in the form of government. We're seeing an increased demand for public-facing messaging about policy priorities that cut across bureaus. We know that that's something the community wants and something that internal stakeholders want to see. In the new form of government, we know that elected officials will not necessarily have dedicated communication staff, and providing them with communication systems, templates, and tools to help them be able to communicate effectively with their constituents will be important and is part of the work this team would take on. And then lastly, certainly under the leadership of the communications officer, working across the organization to develop an enterprise-wide strategy. I will leave it there and pass it to my colleague Shoshana to talk about the transition.
Thank you so much, Laura. Mayor, Council, I'm Shoshana Oppenheim, Charter Transition Project Manager. I use she, they pronouns. I'm here to discuss the budget for implementing Portland's voter-approved charter amendments over the next fiscal year. It's important to distinguish this body of work from the costs of operating Portland's future government. This budget covers the cost and staff, consultants, community outreach, and other ingredients needed to transition our city to the new to Portland governance structure and implement Portland's first election using ranked choice voting. The investments we'll discuss today continue the implementation of the Charter Transition Plan and are one-time in nature and ensure that the city is in compliance with our charter, our elected officials are able to be successful in their new roles, and our employees have the support they need to deliver for Portlanders in a changing environment. Before we talk about costs, here's a recap of the work that's underway. Implementing the voter-approved charter amendments includes 2 primary areas of work: election methods and governance. The work to implement the election methods includes establishing 4 geographic districts, and this work was completed by the Independent District Commission in August of 2023. Administration of ranked choice voting for the 2024 election, led by our county partners and in coordination with the transition team and the city's elections office, and voter education, which focuses on ensuring that all Portland voters understand how to use their ballots to express their preferences. Changes to our governance structure is somewhat more wide-ranging, establishing the salaries for the future council members, the mayor, and auditor. And this work was completed in August of 2023 by the Independent Salary Commission. And revising council operations code to align with the mayor-council form of government, which was completed in September. We expect additional recommendations about the committee structures and operations to be completed in the fall for the council that is elected in 2024 to adopt when they take office in 2025. I made note of several of the questions that you asked. Our current recommendation on committees is that they're between 4 and 6 committees. This will be adopted by the new council when they take office in January of 2025. Staffing of the committees will be supported by the shared council offices, council operations group, which was included in the Cal Target. So that's an additional group of staff that will be working and coordinating with the auditor's office to make sure that the committees are fully staffed. If I don't get to the rest of I've made note of the rest of your questions, and I'll try and hit on them through the presentation. So ensuring our effective governance also includes work which is underway and you've deeply considered. Updating the city's budget process, renovating City Hall, and reviewing the city code like Title 15, which you considered yesterday in your council session. Additionally, the work includes preparing for the recruitment of the city administrator and other leadership roles, as well as organizational improvements and alignment, which will focus on readying the new leadership model and laying the groundwork for the one city approach to the challenging problems facing Portland. The work that is underway is a huge lift and includes your leadership, community engagement, and a substantial effort from our already busy city staff. Our February status update shows that our work is on track, thanks to the dedicated transition team and the leadership of many folks in your bureaus. We would not have made as much progress as we had if it was not for the public's participation in our advisory bodies and Portlanders who provide feedback, comment, and guidance along the way. Next slide, please. This slide shows a 30,000-foot view. I know there's a lot on the slide, and I think you have a copy of the Gantt chart in front of you, of the workflow and timeline for the governance area of the transition, and helps put various streams of work in context. You'll see that our work to implement the new service areas, systems alignment, and change management is underway and will continue through next fiscal year. This work includes developing a work plan for the interim DCAs, assistant city administrator, and defining the disciplines of the new officer positions, preparing for the recruitment of the city administrator so that we can launch this effort when the new mayor takes office in 2025. We are in the midst of a budget process that is evolving and aligning with the new governance structure. Yesterday, you received a report on the facilities project and understand the importance of the workspace and the renovated city council to the success of the transition to the new form of government. Other important deliverables include aligning code with the responsibilities, preparing for council operations, and ensuring the effective and efficient onboarding of our new elected officials. In 2025, we will be laser focused on systems alignment, supporting our employees through the organizational changes that we're implementing, and supporting the new leadership of the city. Next slide, please. This slide similarly shows the cadence of work to implement the elections reforms. Our work includes voter education and ensuring that voters are ready for the city's first ranked choice election this fall. I have a slide later in the presentation to a deeper dive in voter education work plan. Next slide, please. Now we'll walk through a breakdown of the one-time costs projected for the 2024-2025 fiscal year. These numbers provide a meaningful window into the essential work coming up. I'll give an overview of the line items now and then a deeper dive into the larger expenditures. At $2.6 million, the largest line item of the transition project is staffing costs. These are the people who bring the capacity, expertise, and relationships needed to carry out this complex transition. We are continuing to invest in change management for our employees. We are undergoing a massive organizational shift. And to be successful, we need to invest in the training and support for the 7,000 plus public servants who fight fires, take care of parks, fix our roads, and inform our community, and so much more. Understanding what work groups need to align their work with the new service areas is being responsive and is essential to the successful reorganization of the city under an executive mayor and city administrator. Community engagement and communications will be essential to the transition, and it is imperative that Portlanders feel that they understand how to access their new government and reach the people that can help solve their problems. Voter education. This may be the most consequential election in Portland's history, and you will see the results of the voter education strategy as we start to see the deliverables from our ranked choice voting consultants and the project team. It's essential that community members know how to use their ranked choice voting and what district-based representation on the city council means to them. Our investment in a robust voter education strategy ensures that every voter, regardless of background or circumstance, has access to the information and resources needed to exercise their vote. We know from national experts that voters learn about ranked choice voting from a variety of trusted messengers, and that hard-to-reach voters are often left out of the information campaigns. Our focus on making consistent messaging and easy-to-understand information available so that Portlanders, especially hard-to-reach voters, have the information that they need to vote. The voter education line on this slide shows the amount we expect to spend next fiscal year on voter education. Our project team is estimating that our current spending this fiscal year is about $516,000. This includes the implementation of the voter education plan, developing materials and collateral central to the voter education program. In the coming months, you'll see us more actively working to engage voters directly, and this work will continue through the summer and fall. The unique nature of the 2024 election is that all elected offices will be filled in that one election. Furthermore, when the new city council and mayor are elected, their roles will be significantly different than their existing roles. While the role of the auditor remains effectively unchanged, best practices is to include the auditor in the onboarding program so that all elected officials have the same understanding of how the city works. From the time this election is certified to when the elected officials take office, it's very short. And to do their jobs effectively, they will need to learn how the city operates, how public meetings are held, how to move legislation through the city council, and they will need equipment and technology, both of which are not included in the facilities project. I have a deeper dive on onboarding shortly. So moving on, in the total projected one-time costs for implementing the voter-approved charter amendments for next fiscal year come to $3.8 million. However, we're able to carry over approximately $1.5 million from the current fiscal year. This council established a policy set aside in the fall budget monitoring process to support the transition and onboarding of elected officials. Additionally, these costs were aware and on the horizon. So this council set aside $3.8 million to fund one-time transition costs. Now we can spotlight some of the larger line items. Next slide, please. To truly understand what's behind this staffing cost, we need to understand the scope of the transition itself and the project management work led by the transition team and our citywide partners. Currently, the team manages, coordinates, or leads a variety of initiatives that will continue after January 1, 2025. These initiatives include reviewing and updating code to match the service areas adopted by council, implementing citywide change management strategies to reflect the new form of government, leading conversations about the new officer positions identified within the new organizational structure, coordinating the development of the recruitment plan for the new city administrator and other leadership roles, developing onboarding plans for all of the new roles and responsibilities in our new form of government, and establishing our new legislative process for council and how our new leadership roles will interact. Our team is working across the organization, collaborating with teams large and small to ensure the technical implementation of these changes are complete and align with our new fiscal year and budget development processes. This work is essential to ensuring that on January 2nd, 2025, when the city opens for business after the New Year's holiday, our staff and leadership and the community knows who our decision makers are, and that the council is able to hold their first meeting, and that the public is confident that the city's work will continue. January 2025 marks the beginning of a new phase of the transition as we continue to align the work of the new leadership and integrate the newly elected city officials, and soon the new city administrator. Establishing a leadership team, supporting operations of the new service area, and of course, supporting our employees so that we're able to retain and attract a talented and skilled workforce. Next slide, please. Now a deeper dive into onboarding. The request is similar in size and scope, similar in size to requests by the City Budget Office that have been approved for previous council transitions, which have ranged in cost from $130,000 to $200,000 per office. This funding request will provide a high-quality, comprehensive onboarding experience similar to the onboarding of that past elected officials have received. With the expanded curriculum to reflect the changing roles and responsibilities in the mayor-council form, and the expanded and largely new council will have that experience. This onboarding process is essential for our elected officials to understand the city's legislative process, city operations, budget processes, service areas, and priorities to successfully fulfill their roles by the city, defined by the city charter and defined by the desired outcomes of Portlanders. Ensuring our elected officials are up to speed on city operations quickly is essential to successful city operations and the fiscal year 2025-26 budget process. Next slide, please. An impartial, nonpartisan voter education is a critical component to ensure the successful implementation of ranked choice voting. Voters need to feel confident that they're casting their ballot and that their votes will be tabulated in the ways that they intended. The transition team has been collaborating with the City Elections Office, Multnomah County Elections Division, and the Government Transition Advisory Committee Voter Education Subcommittee and our contractors to ensure voter education efforts are accessible and coordinated. The partnership between the city and county have been memorialized in a memorandum of understanding to establish shared roles and responsibilities regarding voter education. The transition team, in collaboration with our voter education partners, are committed to offering an education campaign that ensures that every voter, regardless of their background or circumstance, has access to the information and resources needed to exercise their right to vote. The majority of the funding identified in this expenditure are encumbered in the voter education contract that was signed this year, and the remainder is funded with underspending from this fiscal year. So you had a question in your conversation with Reed Broderson about the elements of the voter education program. So I just wanted to bring to your attention that it's a three-pronged approach. It includes broad voter education using existing channels. It includes expanding the city's capacity to educate candidates that are trained and informed about the changes to the new form of government and the changes in our voting methods, as well as subgranting to community partners to reach voters that the city has historically had a hard time reaching. So across all of the voter education programs and activities, we've been using nonpartisan and impartial messaging to ensure that we're able to educate Portlanders about the changes in the election methods. Next slide, please. Although we still have a lot of work to do, it's important to celebrate how far we've come in this transition. By this time next year, we will be briefing a new council and a new mayor on the budget. They will have had about 9 weeks on the job, and the councilors will have elected their first council president and established committees, and together with the mayor, we'll be diving into the toughest challenges facing Portland. Our new organizational chart will be in effect. Many of the new systems will be up and running, and we will be fully operating in the mayor-council form of government and allowing more opportunities for us to adapt and improve how we deliver services for our residents. So with that, I'll pass it back to Mike, and our team's happy to answer any questions.
Try to answer questions. And by the way, we need to lose that last slide. Okay, that guy on there is killing me. So.
Colleagues, the mayor had to step away. Do we have any questions that we want to raise right now?
I just have one quick one. So in the transition team cost, you showed that slide and it had the team cost. Does that include the use of any consultants as well, or is it just for staffing?
No, I think it includes all of our outside material and services, which would be consulting help.
Yeah, it's not very much consultant services in this year. It's mostly around our change management plan and change management efforts. So you'll see trainings for our employees about how to manage change, how to lead through change. Those types of trainings are being added to our curriculum. And we have a modest amount of change management expertise contract as well.
Commissioner Gonzalez, are you all set?
I think I'm all set for now. I'll want to circle back just again to understand the ongoing and one-time associated both. I just want to map to kind of the conversation with elections and the transition team, make sure I'm kind of following it all. There is one question. So on the conversation around management of committees, so we'll clearly have a clerk responsibility. In the transition piece you covered, can you just reiterate how you think that's all going to work, and specifically how we set up the committees, and then kind of what's the ongoing support model assumed for now?
Yeah, so our team's been doing research with peer cities to learn. Like you visited Minneapolis, they have a shared council office. We're modeling that in our new form of government. So I don't know, we haven't worked out all of the plans, but we're still in the process of that work. So your guidance and suggestions on, the number of committees, the topics for committees, all of that will be developed into recommendations for the new council to decide. We may recommend somewhere between 4 and 6. They may decide, actually, we want to start with 3, but we want to have money for 2 more, just in case we want some in the future. So they'll define the topics, and then, but we'll provide let's say the architecture for the committees, and then have them populate it with their priorities.
Well, maybe my question is really for Mike then, because I'm trying to think through, we've kind of got 3 components here, right? We've got what the clerk's office is going to do. We've got the transition team, and then what are we calling it? Council operations. And I think Shoshani just spoke to it, so that's probably what triggered it. But what is council operations current assumptions for supporting committee work?
Well, I think the current assumption's in flux, but we are thinking right now between 4 and 6 committees and trying to figure out how to deal with that. I think the division of labor, and I can be corrected here, but I think the clerk's office is going to be handling the legal side of what's required for committees. Compliance issues, support, definitely during meetings, those kinds of things. But topical issues and how that gets coordinated, really, I think that's where the work will focus on the council office right now, the support office that we were talking about. But I will tell you, Commissioner, that's in flux too. We heard a presentation today, a panel today, And the deputy city manager from San Jose was on as one of the panelists. And she basically said that not only does she have a certain responsibility for the staffing and what goes on in the city, but she has a responsibility to staff the committee from a substantive perspective. And they have a set of committees that really align, I think, with their service areas. And she had economic and community development, I believe. And she said one of her responsibilities not only was to manage community and economic development, but to staff the committee for the council on community and economic development.
Well, and this gets at kind of a core question, right? Because you have substantive expertise inside of bureaus, and at some point, you're going to want committee members that are going to acquire in their some depth of appreciation in those, whether it's service area or whatever. Who are the bureaus that are going to be responsible for in committee work? And that's going to require a lot of education from the bureaus, frankly. And so it's an ongoing flow of information.
I think you're absolutely right. And I think at least at this point, the staffing in the council office is not a significant number of folks.
Right.
So they would probably mostly be playing a coordinating role. So if a particular committee needed to be briefed on certain issues, it would really be for them to coordinate the staff within that expertise to come and brief. And that might take multiple briefings, as you've noted, to get people up to speed on what's going on. We'll do a certain amount of that in the onboarding process, but you can imagine topics will evolve over the time of the council, and they'll want to know about other things. So I think it's more of a brokering role inside the administrator's office right now, because they won't be subject matter experts in all of the committees that the council is going to want to have. And so we'll have to broker that expertise to serve the committee.
Got it. Okay. That's a work in progress, defining for sure.
Definitely a work in progress.
Yeah, I would just add that, we heard at the November 1 meeting, both, I think, concerns by council as well as from the public about the council operations office truly being independent and available to the council. So we're looking through, like, how do we really ensure that the council is setting the priority for their staff, that we see the shared operations team as the council staff. So looking at different models about how that could, we could ensure that they have that confidence, whether or not it's reporting to the council president or some other mechanism to ensure that the council has the staff that they need to advance the legislation. Like Mike said, this is all in flux, and having these roles clearly defined, the role of the DCA. Does the DCA staff the committee? Does the DCA have liaison responsibilities to the community? Does the DCA sit at tables that currently are the elected officials are sitting at? That's a really important piece to this mix, so that once we can really define the roles, our effort is, on day one, everybody knows what their role is, like it's a theater, like a play, and everybody knows their roles, they know their lines, they walk onto stage, and we're able to perform the work of the city. That's going to take a lot of work, but that's really where our effort is, and it won't be completed on January 1, 2025. This is a ongoing effort and transition as we welcome the new mayor in, as we welcome the new city administrator on. All of those personalities and individuals need to be accommodated in their roles and responsibilities.
And
it's going to be fun.
Yeah, I'm sorry to have gone so deep on it. I didn't ask the question to Robert, but I think there's a comparable sort of question, is the interplay with the city attorney's office in supporting the compliance elements for both the auditor, for clerk, and just thinking through, there's some interesting flow questions that we'll have to sort out.
Well, I think you're absolutely right, Commissioner. We're on multiple levels trying to think our way through what is the the division between the legislative and executive branches, and how do they interact with each other, and in what ways are they independent and need to be supported independently? And so that's a question that's kind of in flux, and I know Robert's been noodling on a lot of that also, and city attorney's office is one of those places that kind of sits in between. I think at the end of the day, the council is the board of directors for the city, and they have the ultimate authority over the city. And I think Robert would tell you that that's where most city attorneys find that their allegiance is to the board of directors, and they have to, because they represent the city. The mayor is the executive and has to be supported also. But at the end of the day, the council is ultimately accountable for the city. So it's a nuanced relationship that we're going to work our way through. But it happens in lots of cities, in lots of places. You know, the attorneys have to support both an executive and a legislative branch.
Okay, I'm good. Thank you.
Thank you. What I'd like to do is I want to check in with Kevin, who's on our Budget Advisory Committee, to see if Kevin has any questions or statements. I have a few thoughts I'd like to share, then I'll hand it over to Mike to close us out with any final comments, and then we can go. Kevin, how are you doing today? Thank you for being here. You've been exceptionally patient, and I wanted to create some space for you in case you have any questions, observations that you want to share.
Okay, no, I appreciate it. I know this is really complicated matter going forward, and I did hang in there all day. But my big question is, with the transition, a lot of this stuff is going to be changed by who's coming next, I'm sure. So I had some trepidation as to, are these numbers really fixed in stone, or, you know, in the fall, are they going to say, hey, we're going all this up because we're not what we used to be? We were that, and we're this now, and how that's going to change. So that's the thing that jumps out at me the most. And two, and it's probably not to you, Commissioner Laps, but if someone can kind of get a link to all these presentations we saw, because some of them became kind of redundant. They all started looking alike after 2 hours. And so maybe we could just get a link for the community members, so we just want to take a look at it.
Absolutely. Absolutely. We can get you a link. No problem.
Okay.
And I guess I would just say about your observation about change in the future. That's a given that a future administration will change some things that we think they might or might not do in the future. I think our role and the way we've seen it so far is to really kind of plow the ground and make it as easy for them to do what they need to do as elected officials as we can do, as prepare as best we can, knowing that they will make independent decisions on their own based on the situations that they face when they come into office. And so I think one of the biggest judgments that on every aspect of this through the last year and a half and on through this next year will be, how much do we do in advance of them showing up, and how much do we wait for them to show up to do? And so it's just, that's a constant kind of judgment. And so your observation is right on, Kevin.
Thanks a lot. Yeah, that's a tough call.
Yeah,
So,
sometimes.
okay. And thanks, everyone. I appreciate it.
Great, Kevin, it's always great to have you here. I'll share a series of, these are essentially observations and requests, and in many cases, they're largely targeted towards the mayor's office, but I'll do it relatively quickly. In terms of some of the new positions we're creating and services we're creating, the Unified Communication Services, the Chief Sustainability Officer, all that sounds great. I'd like to learn more, so I'd appreciate having an opportunity to get a briefing with my staff. On OGR, Sam, your team has done great. I recognize we placed some financial constraints on you. I'll tell you, in my 3 years here, there's been a lot of transition and frankly instability in the Tribal Relations Office. I sure hope that one of the things that happens over the course of the next 10 months is we can establish a vision to begin and continue to sort of grow and strengthen our relationships with our tribes who have been great partners for us and with us. Again, I think we touched about this a little bit. I'm still a little bit foggy on, today we heard the auditor request dollars for voter education and the city administrator request dollars for education, voter education. Like to have a clear sense of, really a reassurance that you guys are talking to each other so we're not, all that stuff is kind of coordinated. A lot of change, obviously, happening in the Office of Civic Life. And just one observation from an old civic lifer here. You know, historically, civic life hasn't, its scope has been reduced considerably. I'm glad that we're still deeply committed to our neighborhood association system. I will also observe that civic life is not particularly aggressive in getting outside grants to support the work that they do. I was just looking to try to see the last number I could easily pull up, and it was like 15 grand, I think, and just pure outside grants in 2021. I think especially for the neighborhood association system, which is still right there, I would imagine that there might be foundations and whatnot who could really help us support this important work that supports our democracy. So I encourage the planners and the staff in that space to think about that. In OEHR, I recognize you guys are operating under the constraints that the mayor's office has handed down, and I've talked to the mayor's office about this. One of the proposals on the table is to eliminate the Blackmail Achievement Program. So obviously problematic. We can do something different in this space, but we can't do nothing. I'm glad to report that the mayor's office has assured me that we can have additional conversations about this. I'll tell you, one of the things that is just true over and over again is if we take a look at how different segments of our community are thriving or failing to thrive, Black men in particular struggle. I think the last time we had a work session like this, it might have been on public safety, and you will notice that African Americans we're probably 6% of the population and about 40% of the folks who get shot out there. No African American families can afford to buy a home in any of our 95 neighborhoods. We have dumped hundreds of millions of dollars in this space over the last several years, and frankly, our outcomes are getting worse. We can't give up in the space. We got to do better. I know the mayor agrees with that, so I look forward to those conversations. Just as I look forward to having many other conversations about the budget and the direction of this city over the next 10 months and the next 10,000 years. And with that, why don't I hand the floor back to Mike to close us out for the day.
Well, thank you, Commissioner, and thank you all. As I said at the beginning, you guys have been through a lot of these sessions in the last, 6 weeks, 5 weeks, and we really appreciate your thoughtfulness and your attention and your patience with all of us. You have traveled this road with us in the last year, particularly about trying to figure out how to change this form of government, have it work on day one as best it can, and be understanding that a new administration will want to change some things. And so, and how do we capture an opportunity to make how we do what we do better? And can we use organizational change and some degree of change in the way we do business to get better outcomes, as you noted, Commissioner. So I just want to thank you all, and I want to thank all these folks. They do all the work. I just get to sit up here and play MC. And so I really appreciate all the folks that have worked really tirelessly on the budget, and I want to recognize Shannon again. You know, we kind of put her in the deep end of the pool. She's got a bad wheel, and yet she's done amazing work. So thank you for the time today. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And with that, colleagues, we are adjourned.